What is going on, you beautiful divine beings of love and light? Welcome to my channel. My name is Daniel. If it's your first time here, I help people raise their vibration, uplift their consciousness, let go of doctrines of separation, and come into the one eternal truth that we are one with God, that you are the Christ, that there's no separation, that you have everything pertaining to life and godliness, that you are the high vibrational word frequency that has come out of heaven. And so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've literally talked to 3 people about today. And so I'm like, man, I'm just gonna make a video. And the inspiration of it is actually the teaching of the ego that Aaron Abke talked about a while ago. And I've made it into a way that the Spirit's been teaching me as I've been holding it in my heart and helping me. And it's all about the facets of the ego, the false beliefs in the ego, and how we can avoid, first not even avoid, how we can become aware of when we are caught up in these egoic traps, okay, that manifest in really low vibrational states of being. Are you struggling with sadness? Are you struggling with depression? Are you struggling with frustration? Are you struggling with anger? Are you struggling with fear, worry, anxiety? Any of these emotions, low vibrational states of being, it is a result of the egoic mind that isn't you, okay? Because who we are as divine beings of love and light is one with Spirit, one with Christ. So our truest essence is that of God. And if we are one with God, truly one with God, which the Bible says, Jesus said, me and my Father are one. And then he prayed in John 17:3, Father, that they would know that they're in you, or that just they would know that I'm one with you, you're in me, and they're in us, that we would all have this realization in our hearts and our minds. And he prayed that all people, not just these disciples, but all would realize this. Paul said in Colossians 1:26, the mystery that's been hidden for all the ages is Christ in you, the hope of glory. In Galatians 2:20, he says, you have been co-crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, no longer I. Who's the I? The separate ego, the separate old Pharisee of Saul. It's no longer the separate egoic Saul that lived, but now it's Christ that transformed him into Paul, into his true nature and essence, into his true image of one with Christ. See, this even happened with Jacob. A name change happened with Jacob too. Jacob was Israel. What does Israel mean? Wrestles with God. What happens when we're wrestling with God in our heart and our mind? God, where are you? Are you one with me? You know, like where are you, God? Where are you? We lose the realization that we are one with God. And so the ego's foundation is the belief that it is a separate entity. That Daniel Somerville, the flesh and blood person, is a separate being from God. Not only from God, but from the rest of humanity, from the rest of the world. We live in our box homes. We go to our box churches. We're separate from nature. We're separate from the life force. We're separate from each other. We're separate from the Spirit. And this isn't a bad thing, because this is what we all agreed to before time began in eternity, to actually come and walk out the human experience, to experience what it would be like to walk through the illusion, the veil of separation. Now, Moses in Exodus, we had a picture of this. He's up on the mountain. He's in the high place, unfeathered, face to face with God, experiencing the divine glory of God. This is a picture of him going up the mountain, ascending into the higher realms, the higher vibrational energy centers, and connecting with the God for 40 days and 40 nights. 40 is the number of transformation. But guess what happened after this transformation in Moses' consciousness? He went back down and he found the Israelites, the ones that were wrestling with God. And what were they doing? They weren't going within. They didn't realize Christ was in them. They didn't realize they were one with God. They were fashioning an idol. They were fashioning a calf out of gold, out of precious metals, going, this is Yahweh, this is God. And it was a complete illusion of separation. So what Moses did is he wrapped his blindfold, his veil around his face, because the glory of God was too strong for them. But the reality is he was reflecting back to them the separation consciousness that they couldn't see. They were blind to the reality of the glory of God in the ascended place, in Mount Zion, within your heart. Okay? And so let's dive into the 3 facets of the ego, because the ego thrives and only exists, all of your ego, and I'll define the ego with this: the negative, the belief that you are a separate self, and the thinking that arises from that false identity. the false identity and belief in a separate self. And how does the ego, so let's talk about this. The ego has three main characteristics, okay? Three main beliefs that keep the ego alive. And because we know where we place our attention, we place our energy, where our focus goes, energy flows. If we constantly give energy and focus and awareness to these lower states of thinking, then we're going to create more of that in our life. And we're going to give energy to these egoic thought patterns, these low vibrational states of being. And it's going to continue to create more of that in our lives. Okay, so here's the first one. The first is because the ego is separate, it lacks. Okay, so if we can say Christ, God, source, all that is everything that we need, is the fullness of joy, is the fullness of love, is the fullness of abundance, is the fullness of wealth, is the fullness of relationship, is the fullness of whatever, health, wholeness, everything that we need. If that is the case of who our truest identity is with Christ, then the ego's first belief is lack. I lack something. I lack health. I lack relationship. I lack finances. Okay? And that lack is going to move to the second belief that the ego has. Because I lack, I must attach. I must attach to a specific external outcome so that I can fill the void of my lack. This is where performance-based mentalities come in. This is where needing to be a doer and striving to achieve something comes in. Because if I can just achieve that job, if I can just get that relationship, if I can just, whatever it is in your life, the illusion is if I attach to that, then I will be full of my lack. Okay, then I will fulfill my lack. And then after we attach to something, the last facet of the ego, the third facet of the ego, is actually control. So when we attach to something and it doesn't happen, we tend to try to control it and clamp down even more. Try to control our circumstances. Because if we can control it, because we figured out what we need to attach to, and now if we can just control all the pieces of life perfectly, all the people, and control all the people, places, and things, then I will be happy. Then I will be secure. Then I will have abundance. And so we need to be very aware of the operations of the ego, okay? The Bible says, do not be unaware of the devices or the wiles of the devil. What's the devil? The Satan, the egoic mind that believes that it's separate from God, okay? If that's a shock to you, just go watch one of my videos, the first one about who is Satan, what is sin, and what is the judgment of God, okay? Satan is your carnal mind operating system, the belief that you are a separate self. All will be saved except for the son of perdition. Who's the son of perdition? The son of perdition is the version of you, your ego, that believes that it can be separate from God. So everyone's going to be saved. Sorry, I think I said everyone will be lost. Everyone will be saved except for the son of perdition. It's the only one that's going to be lost. What's the son of perdition? The ego mind thinking that you can actually be lost. Why? Because there's only one spirit, one power, one Father, one God who's above all, in all, and through all. So you can't be separate. You can't be separate. We're only alienated and separated in our minds by our egoic constructs, based off past programming that we got growing up in childhood, based off experiences and trauma that we went through. So it's not our fault, but we signed up to walk it out, and so it's all working out for your good. So here's the reality. The first belief in lack. I lack, so therefore I need, what is a result of feeling lack? If we truly feel like we lack because we're separate, there's going to be sadness. There's going to be depression. There's going to be any level of any version of sadness that you can think of, loneliness, grieving, these type of deep, deep emotions, which are actually held in the first energy center, your root energy center. You'll notice that these three facets of the ego actually correspond with the lower three energy centers. So in our lowest energy center of survival, I need to survive. I don't have money. I can't survive. So I lack money. I don't have a relationship. And everybody in culture says I need to have a relationship that looks this certain way. And so it feels like death to the ego. I can't survive. And so what happens? We get really depressed. We get really sad. We get really worried. And we're fighting in that survival emotion. And what happens after that survival emotion stays in our body? We go into fight and flight. And that brings us up, since I don't have and since I lack inside, I need to attach and I need to fight for something that is going to fill that void. Okay? So the second facet of the ego, the second belief of the ego is, because I lack, I need to attach to an external outcome, attach to an external situation, modality, breakthrough in my external reality that is going to fulfill me so that I can feel good. But what happens when our attachments get broken? When our expectations of what we think and we attach to needs to happen? Man, I need to keep this job until Christmas, or I need to make this amount of money, or I need to have this person, or I need to get this healing, or I need to get my body to look like this and lose this amount of weight. And we attach to a diet. We attach to a business. We attach to a person to find our happiness outside of ourselves. And what happens when that doesn't work out? We get really angry. We get really frustrated. We go into a state of disappointment and we fight the circumstances and we try harder to prove and perform and spin our tires and make the situations happen. And when it fails and it doesn't work because it's all out of the ego and we're on the uphill call of Christ, remembering who we are as spirit. So God's like, that's not going to work out for you. Guess what happens? We begin to blame God. I need to punish someone. I need to punish myself. I need to numb out. I need to punish myself. I need to punish someone. I need to blame the devil, blame demons, blame your boss, blame your partner, blame your spouse, blame your kids, whatever it is, because I'm angry and I need to fight to keep this attachment alive, because that attachment is going to fill my lack because I don't know that I'm one with God. Okay? And what happens when we fight and fight and fight and we spin our tires and we prove and perform ourselves and it keeps going and it doesn't work is we move into control and we go, okay. Or we get the attachment and we go, okay, if I can make this amount of money, and we strive really hard to work 12-hour days and do this, or we strive to beautify ourselves, to attract this partner, or we strive to hit this goal or overcome this sickness or whatever it is, we strive to do that and we need to control it. If this person is going to act differently and it's going to jeopardize my outcome, then I need to control them. I need to control the circumstances of my life so they line up perfectly. And that's going to give me security. That is going to give me happiness. And so the third facet of the ego is all about control. If I can control, then I will be happy. Okay? And so that is in the third energy center. We're moving up from lack to attachment to the solar plexus, which is control. Okay? And when we're in the realm of control, we need to realize that what happens when control breaks down? We begin to fear. If you can't control it, then you're not secure, you're not supported. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen. We get anxious. Any variety of fear, anxiety, worry, fear, any of this stuff that comes up. And so what I'm saying here is that with these low vibrational emotional states of being, our emotion is like a barometer. It's like an alarm clock. Okay, we've been taught in the Christian church, don't trust your emotions. Your heart's deceitful. Couldn't be farther from the truth. We've misunderstood what that means. Our emotions are actually the alarm clocks. They're the energetic thermometer in our body that's telling us that we're beginning to believe lies. Why? Because we've departed in our minds from the union of who we are as Christ into a separate egoic identity that is trying to run and control our life. Okay, so now let's go over things we can do to combat and bring the truth in where there's lies, because when we know the truth, the one eternal truth that we're one with God, unified with Christ, we will be set free. Okay, so number one, because I'm separate from God, I lack. Okay, why don't you hit that with, so you're going to feel sadness. Anytime you feel sadness or any version of sadness, depression, just heaviness, isolation, bitterness, loneliness, you feel that in your heart and you go, oh, my ego must be sad. The ego, the separate me, it is feeling like it lacks. How about I use Psalm 23? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. I shall not be in want. But we can shift that into oneness language and say, Christ in me is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. I am one with Christ. I am the Christ. Okay? And then if we're ever feeling the next energy center. We're feeling anything to do with attachment, which will manifest in the emotion of Sarabadabashakayana manaya, Shididibo Sayaramana manaya, Kayarabashe, Kididibo Sorobokoyana manaya. Okay, slow it down. Slow it down. Okay, thank you, Spirit. Okay, so the second energy center, which is all about attachment, is going to manifest in anger. Anger, maybe I was getting a little bit angry because I was attaching to an outcome of needing to get through this video quickly because I really feel like there's a phone call that's going to come through any second and cut this down, and I don't want to do any editing. So I need to just relax. I need to detach from the outcome because it is totally okay. So I don't need to rush through it. I don't need to do to achieve to get the video out quicker because because life is working out easily, effortlessly, and perfect. Okay, so the lie is if I attach to a specific outcome, then it's going to be okay. Then it's going to be good. So something we can say here is nothing outside of me is going to satisfy me. Nothing in the world, no outcome in the world is going to satisfy me. I am satisfied by my union with Christ. I am satisfied by my union as one with God. Okay? And that, anytime we feel anger, is the truth that will bring the reconciliation or the flipping of the egoic construct. Okay, so the third facet of the ego. The third facet of the ego is Haramana manaya sayarabashakaya manaya oyarabashikiribo sanana manaya oshekiaramanaya. It's control. Whew, letting go of control. Literally going through the actions of acting out what I'm talking about. Embodying the word. Embodying the word right now. Like, whew. Guys, we are the high vibrations of the word made flesh. Letting go. Literally needing to reenact this word out of letting go. It's still there. I feel the tightness in my neck. I feel the tightness in my head, the attachment, the control of trying to get through this video quickly. Because I know there's a phone call coming through any second. I just feel it in the spirit, but can I accept that? So when we try to control things, I'm going to use this affirmation on myself right now, okay? The illusion is that the little self, the false self, the ego is in control. And if I can control things, then I will be happy. Then things will work out. The truth is Paul said it beautifully. I have been co-crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, the little ego, but Christ who lives in me. And so anytime there is a level of fear, a level of anxiety, they can even manifest in trying to speak too quickly, get through the video. That's the manifestation of the slight anxiety I guess I was feeling. So that anxiety is their anxiety. I see you, you're allowed in my body. And the truth is that Daniel is not living his own life, but it is Christ living in and through Daniel. Christ is living in and through me, and life is working out perfectly because I am being lived by Christ. I am being lived by the Spirit. I am being lived and led by the unctions of the Spirit. So those are the lower three vibrational energy centers of the ego. I lack because I'm separate. I'm separate, therefore I lack. And because I lack, I need to attach to an external outcome and try really hard to get it by controlling everybody and the circumstances to get it. Then I'll be blessed. Then I'll be rich. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be abundant. Then I'll feel good. It's all an illusion. It's all the illusion because we've departed from the one truth that we are one with God. We are the Christ. We are the living vibrational word made flesh. I just release an illumination over you guys. I love you guys. I just release an illumination of love and light over you right now. They're just dropping seeds into people's hearts, into people's minds. That the veils of illusion of the ego are being crucified on the skull of Golgotha. that the veils are being torn in the temple. I just declare it right now. I just declare it right now over you that the veils in your life are being removed and uprooted. There's no hope. Christ consciousness is coming in and through your lives. And so check this out. Before time began in eternity, according to Psalm 139, we all had a blueprint or a scroll that we agreed to walk out, predestined works, ordained, good works that we signed up for. Okay? And so just imagine yourself in heaven looking down with all your other divine spirit beings of love and light, and you're all going up there, and you're like, you know what? We need to raise the vibration of earth. We need to bring earth back into heaven, as Jesus prayed. How should we pray? Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so we came here to bring heaven to earth. Okay, but first we need to be born again, born from above, remember our origin as divine spirit beings. And as we remember our origin as divine spirit beings, we begin to realize that we were in heaven before, and we chose this. And as we chose this, we were looking, I imagine us looking down over the heavens, and we're looking down and we see all of the dark, grotesque, egoic construction, patterns of the world, whether it be addictions or abuses or whatever it is, whatever egoic constructs are rampant in your family line. And you are such a divinely advanced being that you're like, you know what? I'm going to go into that family line with addiction because I'm going to overcome that. I'm going to transmute all of the lower egoic energy centers, and I'm going to bring it up into the heart, and I'm going to live in the green pastures where the Christ Lord my shepherd leads me beside, the still waters, the peaceful consciousness, and I'm going to live that, and I'm going to transmute that in my family line. I'm going to transmute that and become that, so I pass that on to my relatives, so I pass that on to my kids, and I'm going to bring a new vibration in and through my body, in and through my DNA, and as I change myself and I bring the good news if I evangelize myself, I begin to rewire and remove all of the old memories and all of the old patterns and all of the old programs. And all that stuff comes up in me. Guess what? I'm actually transmuting and transforming the collective because we're all connected by the one spirit, the unified quantum Christ field. Whew. And so we are remembering our origin among the stars. We are remembering our origin. You know, before I had any religious programming and stuff, or actually I was just coming into my spirituality again back in 2012 when my DNA began to activate like many of us and come online again. And I was getting into meditation, and I was coming out of alcohol and drugs, and I was learning to meditate again. And I would meditate and I would go into these expanded states where I would be in the cosmos, and I would look at myself and I would be in like an astronaut suit, and I would feel at such peace. And I remember this one time, it was so clear to me that I'm like, why am I not scared? Why am I not afraid? I'm up in the cosmos. I'm up in the cosmos. Like, what is happening? But like normally that would be scary. You're up in the cosmos. But I had this innate knowing, this deep knowing that in me was actually, I originated in the stars. I originated from the stardust. I originated from the higher vibrational states, just like you. Okay? And so I had this knowing, this deep knowing of oneness, that we're all connected. And then getting back into Christianity and the church structure, which I learned a lot of really good stuff, and I had to know the truth of Christ, but I let go of all of these encounters and these things that I had. I would be meditating and I would know that my phone is going to ring. Oh my gosh, here it is. It's coming full circle. I would know that my phone was going to ring, and I would have this knowing, and I would be like 3, 2, 1, and then bam, it would ring, and I would know. No, gnosko. I would know because I was so tuned into the field that was going to happen. And I've had that feeling, that same feeling this whole time. Like after a couple minutes of starting the video, I was like, man, my phone's going to ring. My phone's going to ring. And I'm having that same feeling here. But obviously it's just there to illustrate what it was like to let go of the attachment and the control to the desired outcome of getting the video out there quickly so I wouldn't have to edit it and all that stuff. But anyway. Wow. Where are you going with that, Spirit? Haramanamanaya. So we have a divine origin from above. Whether you want to think of that as higher dimensions in the stars or just the heavenly realms. But, in the heavenly realms, in my Father's house, there's many mansions. There's many dimensional realms and octaves in my Father's dwelling place, in the heavens. So as we ascend our vibration, we move up in dimensions because each dimension is just a measure of the rate of vibration. On the third dimensional world that we're in, we are actually vibrating at a very low, slow vibration. But as we begin to raise our vibration, we can begin to perceive things that are higher vibrational, that are in higher dimensions. Okay? And so this is all very, very interesting stuff. How do we know that this is true? Well, we can see that our visible light spectrum only is a little small piece, and we know that there is light and things that we can't see. For example, UVA, UVB, we can't see these frequencies of light. Ultraviolet light, we can't perceive it with the naked eye. Okay, there's certain frequencies that we can see. We can see blue light, we can see red light and near infrared light. We can see these, but we can't see everything with the eye. So there are frequencies and vibrations that are outside of our current ability to perceive with the eyes and the ears. But guess what can perceive them? The heart, going within. Because when you go within, you can actually begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, and you can begin to perceive these higher realms and dimensions and actually go to different realms, different dimensions, different places, and receive downloads from places beyond going to a church structure or going into your prayer room, or it doesn't matter where you are, because you are the vortex and the channel from the heavens to the earth. And feel free to just take a deep breath in. And realize that we are connected by the breath. We are one with the breath. The breath interconnects us all. The holy breath, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach, is in and through all creation. For you have not been given a spirit of fear. You've not been given any fear in the breath, but a power, love, and a sound mind. Okay? So if who we are is spirit, who we are is Christ, who we are is the breath, then where does this fear come in? The fear comes in from the third energy center of the ego, the separate identity of feeling that we're separate. So we have these two operating systems. The truth of who we are is spirit, and everything that the ego wants to think to control our lives because of the belief in separation that I lack. So therefore I must attach, and as I attach, then I can control. And this is what happened with Adam and Eve in the garden. They looked and they started to perceive differently that they were separate from God. They were in the Garden of Eden. They were in the Garden of Pleasure. They were in the Garden of Bliss. They were already in full union, fully clothed, they say. What happened? The perspective shifted. The Satan, the serpent, the ego, began to actually say, you can be like God. And there was a seed planted where we began to think that we were separate, that we had to become something that we already were. The ego is the fixer, the doer, the achiever that needs to do something in order to become something. But the truth is we need to strive only to enter rest, to rest in the knowing that we are the Christ, that we are one, that we are all interconnected in this divine dance of bliss, love, and light. And so as our ego begins to go, oh my gosh, I'm separate, this is a survival issue. I lack, and this sets the survival emotions into check. So therefore I must fight to attach to something that can fill my lack. And when that doesn't work, I will flight and I will run away and get really scared because I can't control the situation. And so these are the things that we need to realize, that whenever we feel sadness or depression, whenever we feel anger or resentment or disappointment, and whenever we feel any variation of fear or anxiety or worry, we can be rest assured that that is a red flag coming up to get our attention so that the ego so that we can literally begin to put the ego to rest. We can bring the truth in. We can go, the Lord, the Christ within me is my shepherd. I shall not want. I'm trying to I need not attach to any external circumstances in my life, because it is not I who live, but it is the true Christ living in and through me. All right, I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. I trust that this has blessed you, brought a level of awareness to your thinking patterns. Become somebody who watches your thoughts. Become somebody who becomes aware of the low vibrational emotions, energy and motion in states of mind and body, because this is how we, Romans 12:2, don't conform to those patterns that we picked up in the egoic world that are stuck in our body, but we can uproot them and be transformed by the renewing of our minds, okay? Let's pull out the plowshares. Let's stop the fighting, stop the attaching, stop the controlling, stop the worrying, put down the sword that we're trying to fight our circumstances with and blaming external things. And let's go within and pull the plowshare out and begin to uproot all the rocks, all of the weeds, all the junk in our heart, and begin to plant the seeds of the truth that we are one, that we are the Christ, that we are divine beings of love and light, that there is no separation, and embody that in the body, embody the breath. I love you guys. Have a great day. Shalom, friends.